Now, thank you so much for all of you to come here. And despite the unpredictable weather today, unpredictable traffic, or probably traffic is not unpredictable, that's always bad. It's the cricket match between India and West Indies. And let me tell you, the size of the audience today is at least 4x of any informal customer success meetup I've seen. And I've been in meetups where there were only 2 people who turned up. So what I started doing from the next time, I used to take my wife along with me. So in worst case, we have a dinner and come back. Now, I was talking to some of you before we started the event and trying to understand what is expected from the event, right? There were people who asked that, is there a specific reason why we do not have a typical customer success panel where somebody who's a practitioner of customer success is on the panel and they talk about the processes in customer success. Why do we have successful SaaS entrepreneurs and founders on the panel today? Now, I'll not answer this question now. I'll answer when we start the panel, because you will see the insights from an entrepreneur's mindset, how they perceive customer success as a function. What is the top reason why they have decided to invest in customer success? That's one part. Number 2, somebody asked me, will I get to hear something new which I haven't heard before? Unfortunately, that doesn't happen a lot, right? Because you all are very enthusiastic guys, you read about customer success, so it's possible that you know everything which will be discussed today. The benefit you get is that you get to hear it from people who have probably implemented it in a better way, or have probably implemented it and you have not yet started implementing it. I think knowing something in customer success is no longer a niche now because there's so much available on the internet, right? You don't want to know how to increase adoption. But what you want to know is, are there companies who have done it reasonably well? And you can probably learn from their mistakes and save time for yourself and bring in efficiencies to your process. The second point which was discussed during the informal talk is that, is this a networking event? Honestly, it is. It is not a networking event where you share your, your visitor card or your phone numbers to people who do not want to receive that. And that's what happens in a typical formal meetups, wherein you come with a target that today I have 50 visiting cards and I'll make sure I give at least 49 of them today. You don't care if the other person had a conversation with you or not, because that's your outcome. And that is the reason why this meetup is different. 15 minutes before we started, I saw everybody talking to each other. That doesn't really happen because a lot of times there are 20% people who are talking and the rest people are on their mobile trying to act busy as if there is an emergency mail which they have to respond to. That wasn't happening today. So there's a lot of positives which I saw in the last 1 or 2 hours since people started coming for this event. And to take it to the next level, we have an amazing panel today. And I'm assuming the fact that you are here, you would have gone through their LinkedIn profiles anyway, so I'll not give a long introductions here. I'll just call out by their name and the company they work at, and I'll let them introduce, maybe for a minute or so, and they need to introduce themselves in a way that they don't talk about anything which is already on their LinkedIn profile. So I'll start with Khadim from Whatfix. Niraj from Hiver. And last but not the least, the man who doesn't need an introduction, Puneet from CustomerSuccessBox. Now, as I mentioned, as I promised to you that I'll not take time in talking about where have they worked in the past and which colleges they went to and which companies they've been VPs in and how they started their journey. I'll let them talk about it. And the ground rule is you cannot say something which is on your LinkedIn profile and let people know more about you. This is not the Khadim. Do we have another mic or? Perfect. Yeah.
Thanks, Niraj. So I heard your initial talk that entrepreneurs are unwanted here, I guess. Anyway, so I'm Khadim. I'm co-founder CEO of Whatfix. We are a B2B SaaS product helping companies to accelerate onboarding on any other platform. Right? So this is related to the way to customer success, not exactly customer success. So it's been like around close to 5 years now, the journey. We are around 50 people, for two primary office, India and San Jose, which is based out of India. And then we have recently just had a small presence in UK and Australia. 400 customers, 70% of them are in US, rest are across, 20% would be in Europe, rest are across India, South Africa, Australia and all. That's good enough? Yeah, thanks.
It's a tough call not saying something that's already on the LinkedIn profile, but I'll try. So, of course, I'm Niraj, I'm the founder and CEO of Hiver. Our product is basically an email-based productivity tool that helps teams manage collaboration better from their email inboxes. Right? And we are used by more than 1,000 companies globally. More than 60% of our revenues come from the US, and the rest is, all over the place. It's Europe, Australia, and lots of other places. We've been around for 7 years. We had been a bootstrapped company for the largest part of our existence. We raised what you could call as post-seed, pre-Series A earlier last year, and we are close to 70 people now. And we just set up a customer success team probably a few months back, so that should give you some context.
So I think I've already done my introduction, but something which is not on my LinkedIn profile is I learned, so a lot of people mention and thank me for the LinkedIn stuff. I learned all the content marketing from our friend here, Niraj. So he's the king in content marketing. And Khadim has been running a lot and he's been losing weight. So all founders are getting fitter. Sorry, I stole stuff which was not on your LinkedIn profile.
I hardly write anything on LinkedIn.
Thank you so much, and I hope this brief introduction helped you to connect with who we are talking to today. Now, if you look at the panel demographic, right, you have somebody from customer success, and that's me. And if you look at the, if you remember the dialogue from 3 Idiots, where they say, "Hum log science ki taraf se aaye." So I'm the only guy who comes from customer success. So I'm representing you guys. In case you feel there is any question which doesn't add value to your understanding of customer success and how you see this function growing up, doesn't clear your doubt, do let me know. And we'll let these three guys answer all the tough questions. Now, another interesting part with all three of them is that they have raised venture money, they talk to investors, they talk to a lot of people who we do not talk to on a day-to-day basis. And that brings me to my first question. How do investors and the VCs community see investments towards customer success? And are you seeing an increasing trend of, they're giving a lot of mileage to your net and gross retention, your customer lifetime value? I know that the interest has always been there, but are you seeing increased focus in the last few years? Let's start with Khadim.
Maybe I'll divide the answer into two actually, right? So, what VCs do, top priority for them definitely after market size, because that's everybody wants to see $1 billion company, so market size is number one. Immediately after market size, what they would like to look into is the stickiness and engagement in the product. And that's where customer success, all these metrics, what you mentioned, CLTV, net retention, all becomes very, very critical, right? Now, how much importance investors give? Definitely they give, as I mentioned, one of the most important metric for them, but at what stage, right? So when you are at the seed stage, right, it's very hard to prove sometimes those engagement numbers or stickiness because your customers are just getting onboarded. It needs some time to prove those metrics, right? So it will be a lot more at that point. They would go by the industry, what segment you're targeting, what kind of persona, how are they paying money and all. So those are some of the different ways to figure out whether there's going to be engagement or there's going to be there. But as you go the stages further, right? Series A, Series B, we have raised 3 now. A few months back we raised Series B as well. But when you go to subsequent round, the top thing which every investor asks is, show me your retention, show me your lifetime value, show me the engagement. Are the users deriving value out of your product or not? Because if there is if the value is not sufficiently derived and there is a good number of churn is happening, right? There is a high probability that the company would, even though they're having a large market, they have a good team, they would get flattened at some point, right? If you are at 20 million and if you have 30-40% churn, that means you have to add 6 to 7 million just to just to fix those churn itself, right? So you can get plateau very quickly, right? So it becomes a top metric as you start getting into the further stages of the life cycle of your company. I hope that answers.
Yeah, so that's very comprehensive. I just mentioned two things, right? And, I have not had a conversation with a VC in the last 6 months where the retention has not come up in the first 10 minutes. It's in the first 10 minutes, usually it's the first 5 minutes that it comes up. As soon as they have known, the revenue base that you have, as soon as they have known how fast you're growing, the next question is usually to look at your 12-month cohort. So as soon as you have had a 12-month cohort, someone wants to look at it. So to supplement what Khadim said, when you have no data, of course, it's fine. They look for other indicators, but as soon as you've had customers who have been around for 12 months or so, people will want to know how well you're intending to do. So it's that important. The second thing that we have seen, in the last 6 months or 8-9 months is that the VCs are becoming increasingly aware of the entire dynamics of customer success. They know it intimately. Most of them do not know it from experience, but maybe they have looked at enough case studies, they have looked at enough companies, but they know it intimately, right? So I think customer success now is as important as your broad GTM in terms of sales and marketing. It's a very important function that basically decides how you will be looked at by an investor at least.
Very, very interesting question. In fact, I'll give you more data behind the answer. It is actually a lot of, so essentially, no VCs here. How do VCs do business? They will not know much about the business per se, but what they understand better than us, even founders, is going to be how the numbers, can be scaled and they will look like 2 years, 5 years from now. That is what they are good at. They're building at. Now, if you take example, let's take an example. We've got two companies, company A and company B. Both of them at $50,000 ARR. Very simple. $50,000 ARR, day one, day zero. And both these companies are growing at 15% month on month. This is their new acquisition, new MRR getting added. Company A is at 104% MRR retention. That means they are within the same customer base cohort, they are adding more and more. They are increasing their MRR. That means people are expanding, people are buying more. They might be losing 1 or 2 logos, but the rest of them who stay are buying more. So they're at 104% MRR retention. Company B is losing 4% within the same cohort and is at 96% MRR retention. Fast forward, keeping all of these things same, growth also same. Fast forward 2 years, just 2 years. Company A is going to be at 2.5 million ARR and company B is going to be at 500,000 ARR. 5x difference. This math is best taught by a VC and that is why they care. So in simple words, if I can, even if you didn't get the maths, I know I was trying to explain an Excel sheet in my head over a microphone. Customer success can be captured. Why it is important to a VC? Because it's going to be grow fast or die slow. It has two sides of the same coin. If you are at 104% MRR, 130% MRR retention annually or 104% monthly versus 96%. So either you are growing dramatically fast and cheaper as well because the cost of acquisition comes down, or you're going to die slow. So churn is like a blood pressure. It does not kill you tomorrow. You're going to die very slowly and obviously don't want. The other side is the extreme opposite end. You grow like a rocket ship when you've got existing customers with growing MRR. Because acquiring new customers is not just effort, time, in an attention deficit world that we all live in, right? It is getting harder and harder. So that's my answer.
Thank you so much. And just to connect with you guys here, there was a reason why I asked this question. Obviously, you feel good about customer success, which did happen. The second thing is, if you're noticing a behavior these days, if you look at, let's say, a career stage of companies 2 years back, you wouldn't have seen a lot of early stage and growth stage startups hiring for customer success. Now that is happening now, and I have proof. All the 3 people on the stage are hiring for customer success roles in their company. So if you are somebody who is looking at a career in customer success, you know that any company which is growing fast will invariably hire customer success, especially if they are in SaaS. And you have three fast-growing companies on the stage now, right? So just keep this thought in your mind that with increased focus of how businesses and the VCs and investors are seeing the growth, it's a great news for customer success fraternity, right? So that's my takeaway from this. We'll of course talk more about it once the panel ends, and we'll do an open stage and we can talk more on that. Now at this note, I'll move to my next question, that we didn't understand that post-sales customer success has a lot of value. Now my next question talks about what value does it have for your new sales? Have you started positioning customer success even at that stage and not necessarily after the deal closed? Do you see this as a value differentiator at this point for your organizations?
So in fact, in last maybe 100 deals, I think Himanshu is smiling there. He's part of Whatfix Customer Success. He knows this. So last 100 deals what we had, I think at least 20-25 deals would have converted in our favor because of our customer success ratings what we have on marketplaces like Rout and Kataria and all. Right? A lot of our customers sing praises about our customer success and how we provided the value, showed the value to them, and put it throughout the journey from go live to helping them implement and get the results out of Whatfix. When we revamped our sales process, so one of the key things what we include customer success slide, couple of slides in our sales pitch, right? Because we show as a differentiating factor to our customers, like how Whatfix is using customer success to helping you to derive value, because they are paying hundreds of thousands of dollars, not just to get a shelf rent, right? They want to use it and get the value out of it, and that's where the success becomes very, very crucial. In fact, it's a lot more crucial, and definitely very crucial for every company, but in our case, when we lose a customer, specifically enterprise customer, it's not like we're losing 20K, 30K, or 40K, or $100,000. Actually, you're losing a couple of $1 million. Because every enterprise, we typically land in one of the applications, and then there's a huge potential for Whatfix to expand to 30, 40 apps. So if we don't show them value in the first license when they buy Whatfix, we lost that couple of million potential customers. They would never come back. So that's pretty good for us.
So, so first of all, right, I mean, success with what you are selling is something that every customer expects as a given. Right? I mean, it's not something that you kind of say that, this is like, selling you a pair of running shoes and say you can also run with it, right? Because when you're selling a product to someone, they expect it to, deliver success, right? So I think the best way to do that is to, kind of convey that, this is something that we are committed to, and that is we are going to, that we are going to deliver this, as a given with, what we are selling. And, we have kind of, what we are trying to do is that, while we cannot give the full import of, this value that, we are going to make it successful because that is expected, what you can do is that take some segments from it and kind of project that into your pricing plan, right? So for instance, few obvious things that you can probably do is that, starting from putting a couple of slides about customer success in your sales deck to, making it very obvious in some of the plans, right? For instance, our enterprise plan basically says that you are going to get a customer success manager who is dedicated to it, right? Some of our plans actually, commit a certain number of, onboarding and training sessions, right? So there are all aspects of customer success that are kind of, put into or manifested into your pricing plan. But it's very difficult to put the entire picture of customer success, very easily or in a very small way in your pricing, because it's a very large picture, and it's something that everyone expects, right? And that makes it slightly difficult.
Yeah, I think I've already sort of addressed this as part of the last conversation, but just quickly adding to the pricing piece. One thing that we've done is, so depending on the plan that you're taking, you'll either get just the onboarding manager, or you'll also get onboarding manager and a success manager. And I can guarantee the onboarding manager is going to be in the onboarding period, and then you are just working with support. The next plan gets you an onboarding manager and a success manager who's going to be working with you throughout the life cycle as long as you're a customer. And the third plan, we also bring in implementation manager during the onboarding time. Now, frankly, we do offer pretty much all three, even if you're buying the first plan. But the way we have presented this is one of those ways in which you can showcase, and the customer is always curious, hey, what exactly is the difference? And when they ask the difference, we explain them, and then they start to get the value that what's going to do. That could be just one of multiple ways.
Essentially, what we basically said is that customer success is big. It's a big part of the entire experience after someone is onboarded, right? How do you factor that into a couple of small things and show them very, very clearly in your sales pitch, right? And that is usually a tough task in that very strong company to come, right? But it's very, very important.
Yes, I think I agree. Just another angle on the same thing that I want to add. In fact, if you ask me, the customer success is truly competing in the larger plans, and I don't have an answer, I just have a question here. We are largely competing with professional services organizations where the implementation itself is paid for. And there will be, I see the future where this will be built in to the product pricing, because you want to retain the customer, and this is one way of doing it. Another piece, again, how we differentiate is, so we have some of our larger competitors where you will be spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on an external implementation partner. That can be tricky especially if you're serving mid-market and stuff. Maybe enterprises like that, but mid-markets don't. So depending on who your customer is, that again, I see there is a potential to replace it with customer onboarding manager, customer success managers, and building that part within the price, making it in.
To add the importance of customer success, actually, right? So if you see the industry, how it is moving, even though we know SaaS from the last 10, 15 years, but if you see the large enterprises or the typical enterprise companies like Oracle, SAP, Microsoft, they've joined the bandwagon of putting all their products into cloud in the last 3, 4, 5 years, right? And the momentum is just building up. So still, even if you see the numbers today, maybe 60, 70% is still the traditional deployments. SaaS would have been maybe 20, 30%, right? So hundreds of billions of dollars are still in the traditional legacy deployment, and digital transformation is happening. And when everything starts moving to cloud, customers, the power actually goes back to the buyer, because you are not selling an SAP or Microsoft for a perpetual deal of 5 million, 10 million, and you forget it, right? And then next Accenture or Deloitte will take care of it. Now, because you sign a deal on the cloud, actually you can cut the cord in a year. And the customer success is going to become really very critical, because everybody is going to move cloud sooner or later.
Yeah, and you reminded me of my times when I used to be a sales guy in a large enterprise, and there used to be a term called shelfware. How many of you are familiar with a term called shelfware? Okay, at least a few hands. A lot of you are millennials. So no, okay. So no shelfware. Yes, actually there is no shelfware in SaaS, because the simple example I'll give is, so about 20 years back, if let's say a CIO purchased an ERP for his or her enterprise, let's say by spending $2, $4, $5 million, a lot of implementation, a lot of hardware, because it's not SaaS, everything has to be done, and software. And let's say 6 months later, the project fails. What will happen? Something will happen. Somebody has to get fired. We're all professional enough, right? Somebody has to get fired. Who gets fired? The CIO gets fired? Come on, speak up, right? The CIO gets fired. Okay? Today, if the same CIO is going to purchase an ERP, it's not going to be a $5 million upfront investment. It is always going to be, hey, let's start with one project, one team, one department. Even if this guy is paying you for the first year, he's spending no more than 5, 10, 15, 20, 50,000, 100,000. Do you think if this project fails, who gets fired? See, somebody always has to get fired. Okay, that's the rule. But who gets fired this time? The vendor gets fired, which was never the power the buyer had. So if you really analyze this situation more deeply, what has happened, what exactly was Khadim said, the buyer can now fire the vendor, which is us. We get fired now as vendors if we fail to deliver value. In fact, there is also a good side to this. Good side to this is sales has become easy. See, why are customers comfortable signing a 100,000 plus deal over a phone conversation, over a Zoom call, over a Google Hangout call? Why? Because they know if this doesn't work, I'm going to fire you. So there is a comfort and confidence in buying. So the buying sales cycles have actually come down. So if you are in sales, sales is going to be a lot marketing led. Move on success. That's what I did. But yeah, just adding on to that.
Just off tangent, just adding a point, as you mentioned that because things are moving in the cloud, the price points are getting 50, 100 to start with, right? But the cost of acquisition is increasing because of competition, right? So to ensure that LTV and your CAC matches and all, I think India is going to play a really good role in SaaS going forward.
Very interesting points again, and look, that's the difference when you get entrepreneurs because they talk about firing. Now,
For the record, I've been fired twice in my career. Every time, 6 months later, my salary will double.
Puneet, you're not surprised. Now, after every insight, right, the first question we get is where to get started. And if I have to give you one suggestion on where to get started, go to your company, VP of Sales, VP of Customer Success, and ask them on what Khadim mentioned. Do we have a slide in the deck talking about customer success? A lot of times what makes me very unhappy is that the introduction to customer success by sales is something like, hey, introducing this person, he'll take care of you going forward. I'm copying Nimesh to the mail, he'll support you going forward. Now that is not what you do. You don't support customers. You don't take care of customers to make customers successful. So the first thing we need to do is, we need to take care of our positioning, right? And that will eventually help the companies because your organization will be able to do better business because customer understands the value of customer success. Otherwise, they just see you as an exclusive support team member who is dedicated to them. Let that not happen. Great, perfect stage to move to the third question. And for a company to be truly customer-centric, it's very important that customer success should align with product. Now, a lot of times, product team do not like customer success people. I've experienced it. A lot of people who laughed just now have experienced it. Have you deliberately applied some processes in your organizations which has resulted in better synergy, realistic expectations, and essentially meeting the goal to make it a truly customer-centric company? We'll start with Niraj.
So, yes, very tough question. See, certain conflicts are fundamental to how the world runs. So, customer success and product, engineering and marketing, engineering and sales, as in our company, right? And then sales and marketing, right? There are fundamental conflicts, right? And if you do not have these conflicts, something is fundamentally wrong. So, this is the starting point of this conversation, right? I mean, it's good that you are fighting first of all because that fight needs to happen, right? Now, how do you make progress while you are having this fight? That's what we, or how you make the maximum amount of progress having, without really getting into a position where you cannot really work together. Right? That's what you're trying to solve for, right? And so, in our specific context, right, we are a very roadmap-driven company. So, it's never the case that one customer can influence our product roadmap. It does not happen. It has not happened till now, and I do not foresee it happening in the near future. Right? We are very, very roadmap-driven. All that a customer can do is that it can lead to, something in a roadmap being moved from a low priority to a higher priority. But so what that means is that the customer success guys are at constant loggerheads with product because what they want built, just about never gets built in the next quarter, right? And of course this is a problem, but this is something that we have to live with, right? So the kind of things that we have actually done is, or kind of we are implementing is, for customer success to have a very prominent seat at the product roadmap table, right? So, and to do this objectively, the only way to do it is to make sure that something always gets picked up from the customer success bucket, right? Or from the sales plus customer success bucket, because they have very similar asks. And and you can decide on your weightage, right? Whether 40% of the roadmap gets picked up from there, or 20% or 75%. But I think the only way to resolve it objectively is for the entire company to decide on what part of the roadmap gets objectively affected by by customer success, and continue to fix that based on the dynamics of who you are serving, what are your customers, and what they want from you. So I think that's the broad answer, and it's going to vary from company to company. I'm sure Khadim will give you a very different answer.
Yeah. So as we mentioned that different departments like sales, marketing, success, product, and all, they act as a checks and balances for each other, right? You don't want to let anyone dominate because either one dominating is a problem, right? Whether it's success or a product. For example, a product has a KPI, very strong KPI that we want to become a category leader in next 24 months. So they we know that they have to build few stuff to get there. Now, a success guy has a KPI saying, okay, I want to have 95% retention, right? And when customer is asking some arbitrary requirement, product has to accommodate, and the product roadmap gets shifted somewhere, right? So sometimes the KPIs also starts conflicting, right? So that's where you need to have those kind of checks and balances and how you accommodate. So it took time for us. We started, initially we were having like sales and marketing coordination meetings, success and product coordination meetings where they debate, they discuss which are the requirements they should incorporate. Within success also now they have first level of meeting where they identify what are the top requirements coming from all the customers, and they themselves prioritize and push it to the product team via Jira or product board or something like that. Within product, we have actually come up with a framework where we divide the whole roadmap into three different stages, three different buckets actually. The first one we call is a minimum market requirements. So initially when you build a product, you call it MVP and all these things, but as you start progressing in the market, your minimum requirement in the market also starts evolving because customers become more educated, they expect more, right? So that's where we have like 20-30% of the effort we reserve there. Initially 10-60% and gradually it starts, you define how you want to do it. The next one comes is the neutralizers, right? That comes specifically from the sales guys. Sales guys don't want to lose a deal, right? Okay, XYZ competitor is showing some features and we are losing a deal. So we don't want to build those features because that's taking our roadmap somewhere else, right? So maybe we want to neutralize that quickly by some workaround or some integrations or partnering with someone. So we call it neutralizers. And the third one, if you want to become leader in the market, right? So you have your own plans, you have your own innovations, you have your own directions. You need to put effort there. So that's what we call as differentiators, right? So you have minimum market requirements, neutralizers, and differentiators. So we divide the whole product and then define how much effort should go in each way. So success requirements in that way gets tethered, sales also get tethered as well as our roadmap gets tethered too. That's the way framework we have defined.
I think that's pretty much, I think it's all is covered. You guys have been managing far larger teams and looks like very solid. Just adding on to that, one of the organizations I know, at least two examples I know, where in one organization, customer success has a certain story points. So they get story points per sprint. And for every story, you can decide what do you want to use those story points for. And that seemed to be working fine for that organization, fairly large organization. Another organization, they tried that and failed. They went a little far. They said, we will have our own 4 developers. Because I'm never able to influence your core development team. I will have these 4 developers. They will develop, we will fund them from customer success, they'll develop whatever they want. It sounds like very powerful and very empowering for the customers and customer success teams. But the technical challenges underlying, like all of a sudden customers demand something else, and you're trying to, put it in the codes at a technical level. That at an architectural level, it failed miserably. So they, I think, ran the experiment for about 3 or 6 months, and that team eventually merged. The developers were good, but they were just not being like. So these are the 2 models that I've seen. I like obviously the story point model, and it almost seemed like what Khadim was more into. Yeah, exactly.
Thanks again. I honestly read a lot on this topic. I've read at least 100 pages on the relevant books. The density of insights in the last 10 minutes, which I thought was incredible, and I hope some of you will agree with that. On the same topic, how can something be so insightful and giving different perspectives is extremely critical for us.
Sorry. Before you jump on to the next question, I actually wanted to check from you. So how are we doing as a community here in Bangalore? How many of you have you believe, not that technically or not technically, how many of you believe you have an influence on product roadmap? Can you push a feature in the next 3 months in your product? So somebody, okay, 6 months, 3 months, half hand, full hand. Okay, nice. No, that's very good to see.
My case is the product manager also playing a role. There's a lot more influence.
Fantastic. So this is actually a hack. If the product manager is not listening to you, take them on the calls. But don't tell this time.
In fact, in some of the places that I was reading about the success, and when companies start transitioning to catering to very large enterprises, right? Some 5 or 10 large enterprises come on board. So some of the companies have practice of putting product manager in charge of ensuring that this large enterprise go live. And then they figure out a lot of stuff which actually is useful for their product roadmap as well. They act as a program manager or
That's a very interesting transition. In fact, we have a couple of people in the audience today who have moved from a customer success to a product manager role. I just met a couple of those people. So yes, I definitely see a lot of synergy. And that's a perfect situation to be in, right?
But I will dare a product manager to try a customer success.
That needs courage.
No concept, but not yeah, but I think incredible respect for product managers are the ones who are in those dungeons building the strategy of the battlefield. But we as customer success are the fighting the war from the trenches. So I will definitely dare a product manager to try the other role.
It's because this is getting recorded, we respect product managers. We love them. Because tomorrow I'll be back to doing the work with them as I have been doing and requesting them. So that's just a disclaimer. Now, next question. Now we all know that customer success is important to companies. Entrepreneurs realizes the value. How do they hire people? What skills they look at? And when you guys form teams at your organization, did you transition your existing trusted folks in sales and account management to move to customer success, or you hire new set of people for whatever reasons are? Let us get into that topic.
I think skills would definitely vary a lot from company to company based on the product and the market they're serving, right? Just going back how we started actually. So I think everybody talks about okay, first 10 sales has to be done by a founder, right? That's every VC says that, but nobody talks that okay, first 10 customer success has to be done by founder as well, right? Because the product market fit, if you see that whole thing which everybody talks about, what is it actually, right? You build some product based on some hypothesis, then you identify who's going to be buyer and the segment which you're going to sell and they're going to pay. But your product market fit is only complete when you close the sales and they see the value out of it, right? Somebody has to play the role of success right from your first sale. And who's going to be the best guy to start with? It's going to be the founder, definitely they have to do it. And that's why they start deriving what skills are suitable for my company for customer success. Right? So we were 2 guys, so my co-founder was playing that role, I was more on the sales side. Yeah, so in our case, what happened initially, the first few customers, we started helping them out to derive the value, and that helped us to iterate the product very quickly and get the product market fit. In terms of our first hire, it was from the customer itself. so we were actually selling to one of the largest banks in India, and after that was our 7th or 8th sale, and then we posted a customer success requirement, and one of the member from that group actually applied saying that he wants to relocate to Bangalore and he might be open for that option. The person was actually not from actually the customer success background, but he understood our product really well because he was part of the implementation team there. He knew what was exactly the use case. The person knew exactly like how end users are going to benefit out of Whatfix once it is implemented in the bank, right? So that's what we needed. We needed somebody to understand the segment, somebody understand the value, why Whatfix is required for that customer, and the same cycle has to be repeated for other customers. And that's what we got. Over a period of time, we definitely built our own JD, the skill sets are required and all. So coming to the second question, actually, do we transfer, right? So we have transferred both the sides. We have transferred success guys to sales. We have transferred sales guys to success as well, right? And then we both have worked so far for us. Because sometimes people in the sales, sometimes the DNA required is very different. You need to do the sales and move on to the next team. But in success, you need a lot more relationship building as well, right? So some people are cut out for greater, some people are cut out for performer, and when you move them, they sometimes do really terrific job, and it is worth for us.
So, just like Khadim said, right, I mean, it's usually the founder who is the first success person in the company without actually knowing it, right? So, in our case, right, I mean, I was the person who was kind of doing success or support, but the lines between them get very, very fast. When you're not an expert in customer success, it's pretty much your first company and you're not exposed to that process of, doing customer success as a framework and as a defined process, right? So what happened with us is that the lines between customer support and success were very fast. We did not know what we were doing. But then when we actually realized that we need to dissociate these things and we need to do this properly, it was very clear that migrating people between departments will not work because we need people who can actually come in with some prior experience and set up this framework, right? I mean, we have to do, given the kind of customers we have, we are like, high volume SaaS. We are not like enterprise players like Khadim is, and we need to be it to be done in a very process-driven, very automated manner, in a very tool-assisted manner. Right? So the extent to which we need prior experience and expertise is very, very high. So if you look at our team, both of the people are here actually. The first person in customer success was, of course, moved in from sales, and she of course acquired a huge amount of expertise over time. The second person who joined in and has helped immensely set up the framework is an experienced customer support person. And I think you need both. You need people to set up a process, people who come in with prior experience, and help you set up, the best practices in the shortest period of time. Because you don't have a year to do this. It's like something that you need immediately. But you constantly need to look out on the people within your team who can fit in that role of being customer centric, being able to understand that entire process of customer success and move them around. Right? So no clear answer. You probably need a bit of both.
Yeah, and for us it was a very unique thing because we are a customer success technology selling to other customer success managers and leaders. So for us to learn what needs to be developed is obvious if the product manager himself can play customer success role. So I did there my own product manager and somebody who's very well respected, worked with him for many years, and so he played customer success even on select accounts today. That is the best way to influence your product roadmap, put it in front of the customer. And as we are getting more and more stable on the core value as it's getting delivered, now I do not want him to be influenced directly, and I want him to take a little less emotional role. Because when you are dealing with the customers, you are more emotional, you're more connected. Hey, that guy is so sweet, how can I say no to him? Versus somebody else who might be demanding more value, maybe not as sweet, you say no, it's more comfortable, right? So you want those emotions to cut out, and hence the strategy room is never the trenches room. I said it in a different way otherwise, but that there is a reason why they are cut off. So that was our first unique position. But usually the trend that we have seen, the first thing is the support team member is the first thing that gets added because you have a tool, they have questions. And that support team member is also forced to start documenting because he realizes he's answering the same thing over and over. And then some point, this support guy is pushed into onboarding. And then you realize, oh, we need a different specialist, onboarding specialist. If your team is, if your platform is a little more complex, has an admin side, requires configuration, the implementation managers come in first. A lot of places, they're still called customer success managers. The term is a little fuzzy to them. But when you ask them exactly what their role is, so they are implementing, they are onboarding like 20, 50 accounts every month. Clearly, they have no time to do success. They cannot be long term. Customer success manager is somebody who's going to be discussing on day zero with the customer, hey, let's put together your plan for the next year. Every quarter, this is the improvement that we're going to make, this is how we're going to drive. Unless you are doing that, you're not doing true customer success. And then the third role, which I define as company success, so product adoption of product success, customer success, company success. So company success will happen if you are able to translate that customer success into an increased MRR. So if you look at your own role, It's the most complex role ever. From handling escalations, which are fires on the support side or the product side, you are seen as the influencer. Number two, you are responsible for onboarding. Number three, you're responsible for the long-term business outcome delivery. Number five, you are responsible for upsell and renewals so that the dollar keeps coming in. And number six, you are the feet on the ground, you are the ears on the ground. More than understanding what the customer needs, of course, yes. You also are listening, you're the first person to hear that customer has a pain that no technology in the industry addresses today. That is, you have the power to drive a new product out of the same company that nobody else has. So the future of the company, not just in terms of growing the MRR on the current product, but also coming out with new product lines, is literally in your hands. And that is the power you have. But it's such a diverse role, and hence it needs to be very clear as to what is your customer success for this quarter, what are your internal goals. And if you are really large, I will advise to cut the teams and specialize in onboarding, on growth, on customer success. That is where you get the maximum bang for the buck. But not everybody has products which are paying hundreds of thousands of dollars. Maybe you have, I think you have that advantage where at some stage you can you can specialize. You will always have to look for automation.
Yeah, just to add, we started as Puneet mentioned with a single person doing all the activities as it described, but then we started specializing, right? We started cutting down, right? And that happens in almost every department, including success. So in success, we had initially only CSMs. Later on, we had AMs and CSMs. Then we have AM, CSM, and customer success engineers. Then we have implementation engineers. We have program managers. So it's just evolving. We are separating out support completely. So L1 support is separate. Now we are having L2 support as well. So we just specializing everywhere, and everywhere we have building the territories. So we have a territory manager. So all this is just evolving gradually for us.
So what I'll say is that we have digressed very far from the question, right? And this might make it sound very, very complicated. So it's very important to start small and ignore what Khadim just said, right? Otherwise, you'll never get started with customer success. So start small and keep it simple until it has to get complicated. So that's very, very important.
Thanks again. And two takeaways which I have. You know that some function is gaining popularity when people start giving funny names to the titles. Thankfully, we are not at Customer Success Ninja or Customer Success Junkie yet. But it's important to know what is the desired outcome from you. Right? As customer success professionals, we are so concerned about what is the desired outcome for the customer. But if you look at your internal positioning as a customer success manager, you also have to understand what is the desired outcome from you internally. Whether you are an implementation engineer or you're an onboarding specialist, if you don't know what your company expects you to do and how will you achieve that, there'll always be a confusion in terms of what value you're supposed to deliver. It's one thing to be busy in customer success, and it's another thing to deliver value in customer success. Right? And something as proactive as customer success should never be a reactive process. Now, we have time for one more question before we move to Q&A. And this question is the next evolvement after you have set up a customer success team. And that is around adopting a customer success technology platform. I did some research and I'm aware that you guys have implemented technology to make sure that things aren't on a piece of paper or an Excel sheet, but far more tech savvy, where you can predict better, where you can automate a lot of stuff, and where you can scale things. So what are your thoughts around at what stage should companies consider automating and adopting a customer success technology platform?
So tools generally are as good as the data in the tool, right? If you have CRM and if you don't put any information, I think they're useless. Just lying around. And big from the adoption industry, right? So when we see the study that first year, typically the adoption of any tool is only 30 to 40%. Because people don't use it effectively. So earlier use the better, because tools give you on the customer success product, whatever you use would give you actually the predictability and the visibility. So specifically when you're scaling, right? So if I want to see for a customer success department for the next quarter, what's expected retention, what's expected for the growth, MRR growth or ARR growth. Which of the customers' health index is in the red or orange zone, right? Where you focus. Maybe there's a local customer success guy in a specific geography, and I can go and meet with somebody in the middle. So it gives all those indicators and predictable ways where we can actually start engaging the customer. It gives on a day-to-day basis. It gives tasks or what are the top activities a success guy has to focus, right? So it brings a lot more process to the chaos, right? But having said that, as I mentioned, if you're starting as you're the first success guy, first success person, starting with a tool may not be the right thing to do. I think it's best to start using it in some XLS or something, right? First, figure out what are the health indicators, right? For every product, the health indicators would be different. What are the value parameters for your customers when they use your tool, right? Once you figure out what's your health indicator, what are the value parameters, what's your onboarding process, what's your customer life cycle journey throughout your process, and you get the tool or get a product like CustomerSuccessBox, it'll be easy for you to configure that, automate many of the stuff, and get the perfect value of it. In our case, we started with initially tweaking some of the CRM features to use it, but then anyway, it would never scale. And then we, I think once we crossed like 1.5 million ARR, at this point we implemented successfully.
So, account management has been done for ages without a tool. Right? It has been done for ages with email and Excel sheets, right? Why is it that customer success, the idea of customer success is kind of, so inextricably linked with the idea of using a product for it? And I think that is because we have so much more with SaaS. The vendor has a lot more data about usage than any vendor has had in the past, right? And if you're not making use of that data, you're not fundamentally doing customer success. That is how I think it's very, very important to make sure that you use the humongous amount of data that you have into your very, very deep insights into product usage by your customers, and use that as plugs, hooks, alerts, whatever comes up to actually drive adoption, avoid churn, or whatever needs to be done, right? And I think that even if you have 100 customers, even if you have 50 customers, to do that effectively, you're going to need a tool, right? And it's very, very fundamental to how customer success needs to be done, in my opinion. If you have very large customers, where in case of Khadim, where you have an account manager who deeply and intimately knows the customer and knows what is going on, and he manages a small number of accounts, you can probably do it with an Excel sheet. But probably when you have 50, 100 customers with a lot of touch points with your product, you are collecting large amounts of data, and you need to funnel that into a product, build your alerts, triggers, reports, and whatnot, and then make the best possible use of it, right? So from my perspective and from where I'm coming in, given our market product, etc., you cannot really do customer success without having a product helping you, and we of course use Puneet's product, CustomerSuccessBox, awesome product. But, I did not see us, being able to do anything effectively without actually using a good tool that actually is collecting all the data, has every alert figured, every alert set up, all the triggers, etc., right? So that's key to how we work.
Thank you. I think both of you pretty much covered everything, including the sales pitch for us. Thank you. I'll give you a different perspective, and I think what Khadim said, I fully second that. In fact, I have a blog which is written saying a minimum of 50 customers and a minimum number of, there should be a head of customer success manager, a head of CS, somebody heading the department with at least 2 to 3 customer success managers with them. That's when we feel you have the right attention, to be very, very specific. Yes, that is also part of our qualification criteria. But I'll give you a different answer if you really want to know, where is this coming from? It does not matter that when we want to bring in tool. It does not matter. Our opinion does not count. There's only one person that counts, that's your customer. Are your customers expecting you to be proactive, or are your customers expecting you to only respond on support tickets? Anybody whose customers don't expect you to be reactive, to be proactive? Nobody. So that's the truth. The truth is that the expectation, and all of us are customers too, right? It's not that we are we experience so many SaaS products. Every organization having, even the smallest of the organizations, I think a bootstrap 1-year-old organization will have at least 25 SaaS products today. Half of them might be female, that's another thing, but I started using Calendly literally, I day one. But having said that, so we are customers too. What do we expect from the same platforms, from the same platform providers? We expect proactive service. If I'm not using a tool, I help, yes, I expect a call. And I expect somebody to help me out without me sending a support ticket or anything else. So if you're in support, you're doing a great job. Frankly, a lot of times, so just to very clearly differentiate, is support not important? A lot of people think support is not. Support is very important. In the subscription economy, everything post-sales is extremely important, including support, product support. If somebody has a question, how do I do this in your product? 100% that is important. In fact, that is one of the core reasons why Hiver is shining so well. And subscription economy, everything post-sales you want to double down. But coming back to customer success, there will be larger pieces that, okay, what do you want to achieve if somebody has purchased a CRM? I keep going back to the example, if somebody has purchased a CRM, what do you want to achieve? Do you want to improve forecast? Do you want to improve your conversion rate? Now, conversion rate is not going to improve just by buying a CRM. There has to be a guided process. There has to be a nudge. There has to be sharing of best practices. You need to be wearing a lot of time a consultant hat. You don't have the relationship between a customer success manager and the customer success manager and your customers is not of a friend, is not of a support, is not of a service provider, is of a doctor and a patient. They have a pain. You have the solution. And when you have to investigate them, hey, how badly are they serving? You want an ultrasound done, you want an X-ray done, you want a blood exam done, and all of those tests, that's where your tools come in. So that's, I think, a different analogy, but essentially tools will give you ability to be a lot more proactive, a lot more confident of telling them what they need to do, advising them, nudging them, and then when you show them, also verifying are they able to get that value. Otherwise, you're running just a cadence. But yeah, a minimum scale, I'd say about 50 customers at the very least, 100 is also good. Below 50 customers, I believe if you are below 50 customers, then you should know all your customers' name, their child's name, and their child's birth date by heart. If you don't, then no tool can help you anymore.
Just to add numbers, I think you're mentioning how many SaaS products company use. So I think recently I was getting a report and mentioned enterprise on an average today are using more than 1,000 SaaS products.
Interesting. How many of you are using a customer success tool today inside the Bangalore Customer Success Box? You know what happens when you don't use a tool as you scale? Your team members will send emails to customers saying, hey, just to check in, hope everything is well, do let me know in case you need any help. So that's the challenge, right? Because you do not have any insight into their health matrices. So all your reach outs will be for the heck of it, right? And as Khadim rightly mentioned, you are on the path of scaling, but then you stay on that path without moving in the upward direction. Now, second thing which happens when you do not use a tool, and that is my personal experience in terms of discipline and being organized in your work. Your work efficiency, that's a side effect of using a customer success technology platform. Your efficiency increases. Because you go to office, you open your laptop, you see which customers need attention at this point in time, what are the value drivers which are driving your engagement with them, and you reach out to them for logical reasons. Your quarterly business reviews become more efficient. Your each conversation becomes more productive because you're talking things which matters to them because you have seen their user behavior on your product. And that's the entire point and benefit of SaaS, right? We are no longer in an economy where as long as you are supplying the annual diary and pen set to customers, the relationship is great. Right? Customers do not expect that kind of a relationship standalone. They do expect that you will solve the pain they have, right? And it's great that you yourself don't become a pain for them by calling them 30 times a month without a value. Because then that's another problem which they need to solve. That's all the questions I have, and I'm sure you too will have some questions. The only concern I have is that you have to take some extra pain to ask a question. We have one mic. You'll probably have to come here and ask a question because it's a wired mic. So in case any of you have a question, please shout out. Please. That's the Q&A chair.
Thank you very much. This was very good. So I see that you spoke more on the SaaS and the companies are more moving on to SaaS and cloud infrastructure and all. So speaking about customer success on SaaS, and majority of the enterprise companies are on SaaS itself. And I do understand that they have moved on from SaaS, from different base to SaaS as well. So what do you see as the role and feedback for us as professionals in the product-based company, right? So majority of the companies, they do on-premise deployments as well. They don't do on the cloud. They have compliance issues. They have confidentiality of the data issues and a lot of things, right? And it's not just the B2B, right? So companies cater the B2C market as well. So how do you see customer success professionals working in the B2C market as well? So there are two questions.
Your question is for someone specific, or I can just.
I come from a product background, so I work with people. So that's why my question was more on the product side, not on the SaaS.
Got it. So, and just to understand the question, right? So, you basically want to know how will customer success, how will the products evolve, delivering customer success in B2B, SaaS, and B2C?
B2C and not on the SaaS. Not on the SaaS.
On non-SaaS?
Yeah.
On non-SaaS. Okay, I think that's a very interesting question. And as Khadim mentioned, only 30%, the truth is only 30% of, 20-30% of the actual technology is still on SaaS. So the rest of the 80% is in the process of moving. We obviously, majority of us come from the SaaS world, so we have the advantage of the data. So I always ask, customers, okay, if you're not able to see true product adoption, then what is the best proxy that you can see? For example, in CustomerSuccessBox, and I was speaking about, how important customer support is, even in the in subscription economy. So we actually calculate something what we call service quality health. In addition to product adoption health, financial health, service quality health, relationship health, and any other external risks. So we don't just look at product adoption, which will require a mandatory, sort of a SaaS engine to ping you what is happening. But there are other proxies by which you can see how's the health of the customer. On support, for example, are you seeing a healthy trend of support tickets coming in? In one of the examples, a customer was telling me that they have seen a hump on support tickets every time a new customer onboards, or every time an existing customer starts to use a new module or upgrades a plan. You will see a hump. So that's a healthy hump. But at the same time, you don't want to see an erratic hump and a constant. So there has to be a healthy rhythm to everything. You can calculate. That could be a proxy signal. I'm still on B2B. Relationship health, when was the last touch point? And I'm not talking about touch points going out just one day sending emails. When have they spoken to you? When have they met you? All of those can be logged and they are treated as touch points. How many total touch points in terms of volume you've had in the last 30, 60, 90 days? That your relationship health can be defined. Again, was that conversation how effective or ineffective it was is a very different story, but you can still measure something. The third health that we measure is financial health. I'm sure they're paying you, so that comes and sits in some SaaS products, some Excel sheets. So you track the MRR trends. Are they paying you more, paying you less? Are there invoices which are overdue? Are they in a 3-year contract or a 3-month contract? And things like those. So those could be your proxies for on-prem. You want to comment?
Did that answer your query? Partially? Yeah. Catch up with Puneet after that. Unless Khadim and Niraj, you have something to add. Perfect. So we have time for 2 more questions. I already see one person getting to the seat.
Okay, thanks so much. First of all, I think a very interesting discussion. I think very diverse viewpoints, so that's good to know. Am I allowed to ask 2 questions, or this has to be one?
You can ask the question if there's nobody else who is. No, sorry.
Okay, so that's one. Okay. One of the things that comes to my mind is we always in the customer success world think about increasing adoption, increasing value from a customer standpoint. And the usage of the word value is really high in the domain of customer success. But looking at the other side, which is the internal side, that is the customer success side, the customer is thinking about how quickly can I derive value from an individual like this or a team like customer success. So our view of value as a customer success manager is probably increased adoption or higher revenue or fiscal prudence or whatever you call it. But from a customer-centric standpoint, putting myself in customer shoe, they're thinking about how quickly the customer success manager can deliver value. Because that's what you promised in the pre-sales cycle. Now, in a lot of SaaS-based companies today, they're adopting freemium models, right? Wherein before the customer believes you, they show a glimpse of what it can do for you, establish trust, and then that gets adopted. Now, in a pre-sales phase, when you're trying to sell customer success as a philosophy, have some of your organizations explore giving organizations a glimpse of what this can do so that your time to value for a customer to believe in customer success manager can increase. I don't know if I made complete sense of that, but just an idea.
Do you want to answer this?
More into from enterprise perspective, I think you will answer that. So value from the customer can derive the value only after the product is whatever product you sold to them gets in production. When the user starts using it, right? So the customer's perspective, they want as soon as the product they bought, the shortest time it can go live. That's what they would be expecting from the customer success department, and that's what even the sales team also is selling. Right? When you listen to the sales page, one of the questions we will ask, how long it will take to go live? It's very typical question what we hear, right? And sales guys would typically, let's say 7 days, 14 days, or 2 months, depending on the complexity of the products and all, right? So that's a first expectation set for a customer success by a sales team, right? So, in our case, what we are trying to do is we do show the go live plan in a kickoff meeting. When the deals are closed and the customer is handed over to success team from the sales, there's a kickoff meeting and they discuss the go live plan. We get the commitment from both the sides because there are dependencies on the customer side as well, right? Without that, we cannot go live. There are dependencies on our side from multiple teams. So get everybody on the same page, have the clear plan of go live, and get that done as soon as possible. Because once the go live is done, the customer starts getting value out of it. Right? So that's maybe for a.
So we come from pretty much the opposite side of the spectrum, where our adoption is very bottom up. It's basically adopted directly it's basically discovered, tried out, and adopted by the end users of the product. It's not a top-down kind of sale where you convince the CIO to actually drive it down into the support team. A support agent or a support manager actually tries out the product and fundamentally buy it, right? So in our case, in more than 90% of the cases, we have established value and driven some users in the first 14 to 30 days of trial. So you'll see a very wide variation in this SaaS world, right? And that means that customer success will have probably slightly different roles to play. But I think a semblance of some value delivered before a product has been bought is kind of fundamental to how SaaS works, right? And I think all kind of SaaS companies implement that.
Just to add a little bit, before even sales, many of the time customers do ask to see the value. That's what we normally call it POCs, right? So they run POCs for 14 days or 30 days, depending on the size of the customer and the complexity. So that's another place where sales engineer, sometimes the customer success team help them to see the result very quickly so that the deal can get closed.
I think I completely second what Khadim mentioned. So your best case will be to do a POC and involve the customer success manager early. And that will be the best proof or best glimpse into the customer success world. The second best is going to be the plan, and the third best is going to be the reviews. Like Khadim was pointing out, if you have onboarded other customers, if you can just have them talk about the onboarding process itself. So these are because you will not have the luxury, depending on how many leads you have, what's the price point to do POCs and what complexities. If the product can be, where Hiver is, for example, fairly mature product can be self-onboarded and stuff, that's best. That's of course the proof is in the product itself. Customer success can be may not be needed as much.
Okay, right. We have time for one more question. And I think rest of you, if you have questions, some of us will be here for another hour or so. Feel free to ask on the open platform. For now, we'll have one more question.
Thank you. So I have a specific question. Like earlier, Puneet was talking about customer effort, like the kind of effort which is required if the product adoption is top down. Like you have one or two champions from the client's end. So I work in an early stage HR tech startup. So to give you a background, so the thing is with the customer effort is I have faced both ends of the problems. So if we more enthusiastically help them resolve everything, like to what extent we need to solve issues for them. Like we do everything on their end and they're not getting adopted to the product and they're just getting the final value after first quarter. And it leads to them not using the product well. And on the other hand, you don't give enough support from your end, and then they end up doing a lot of work and they churn. Like, how is there any processes, or how do we handle this thing?
So the question is, how much love is too much love?
So maybe again, I would say this lot depends on the stage and the maturity of the company itself, right? So when you're too early, you don't have a choice. You have to show as much love as possible, so the customer doesn't run away, doesn't churn, right? You have to go out of way to ensure that your product gets implemented and customers are seeing value. Sometimes you have to do their job, and at the early stage we do that. Over a period of time, when you start getting more and more customers, that's not possible to do it, right? That's where your customer success will start pushing back. You will start realizing a lot of time is going in just onboarding few customers. Now we need to draw a line, right? So we start defining your sales process, in your proposals, okay, what they can expect. Whether they can expect dedicated account manager, dedicated success manager, what activity they will be performing. Whether they'll be just doing consulting or they will be actually helping them in implementation. And as you grow as a company, these boundaries would get more and more clear. So earlier we used to do everything. Today we clearly give them in the sales pitch or in the proposals, okay, if you want me to do X, Y, Z, you're going to pay this much. If you're going to have 24X support, you're going to pay this much. So we charge for additional activity, we charge for implementation, we charge for anything customization they would need or something they would need.
At the cost of doing, you saying that I'm geographically prejudiced, let me guess that your customers are Indian. Huh? So, pretty much the same, right? So, we cannot ignore the cultural aspect of it, right? Certain customers from a certain part of the world expect a lot more assistance and hand-holding than customers in other parts of the world, right? So it's hard to answer this question without taking into account who your customers are, right? So see, second question you asked, so the ultimate, the gist of the question is too much customer success a hindrance to the customer learning the product, right? So if your customers are from those parts of the world, do not expect them to learn the product. They will always come to you for assistance, and I've heard this from multiple entrepreneurs from multiple different sectors, right? So I think this is something that you would be involved
in. I think both these points are extremely valid, and just building on to this, I'll give you first a tactical hack. If the customer wants you to configure the product, and that configuration is going to be once in the lifetime or once in a year, just go ahead and do it. By the time you teach them, because if you're an early stage, your documentation is out. If you don't have a documentation, you have one, it's outdated, it doesn't work, it's not well written, the customer doesn't want, you are not a brand who will, show them muscle that you have to do this. You're also, figuring out customer success, you don't know how much authority to show to them, all of that stuff. So in that case, if it is a one-time thing, just go ahead and configure it. So for example, if I can take a CRM example, because all of us are it. So in a CRM, or even in customer, let me stick to the CRM example. If I have to create opportunity stages, like hey, opportunity A, B, C, D, I ask them like, what are your stages? They say, these are my 5 stages. You don't have to teach them how to change stages. Go create those stages because he's going to live with those stages forever. But when it comes to creating new opportunity, creating a lead, which is something, an activity that the customer will be doing every day in, day out to drive value, that you should not be doing. That you will have to teach it to them. So the user level trainings, giving you another angle. If it's user level trainings, then make sure you train all the user. But if it's the admin level, configuration level, I think it is okay to suck it up and just do it. Especially if you're dealing with a customer who's not tech savvy, a customer who was, because the buyer might be fully convinced of the value. The person you are implementing with, the implementation manager, might not be on your side. And this guy is going to push for their configuration, so it's all screwed up, it doesn't work, all of that stuff. If you're caught up in those, it's fine to configure the products. That was a tactical answer. Now, strategically, this is also a business call. It's a company call. What kind of a SaaS product you want to build, what kind of a SaaS technology space you are in, and how much value you are giving, what dollar you can actually charge. I work with teams where I've seen everything has to be self-serve. Like Khadim's product, Whatfix, helps you do product adoption in an automated way from a user level perspective. Can be extremely effective. And where you pretty much handhold everybody, but using technology, tech touch. Then of course there are complex products and more customer human intervention is needed. So there we deploy optimized human intervention, very personalized human intervention. I've recently met an organization, again an organization call. I asked them how many customer success managers do you have? Their answer was 500. How many customers do you have? 500. It's like, what? What do they do? How complex are you? Are you running projects? Like, no, we have products. But they are running, for example, they literally are managing imagine they are in HR. So if you have to hire, you go and run a sourcing campaign for them. Something like that. Again, I'm not disclosing the name of the customer. But that was the design of that organization, that the value proposition is not just the product, but like Khadim mentioned, a layered service on top, that we will actually run the show for you. So that success manager, for all practical purposes, is part of that team. So it's a very raw call as well, to what level do you want to go and serve. But yes, if you are planning to serve them, you should definitely charge for it. But at an early stage, I'm assuming you are interested in learning. If you actually will do the job for them, there will be a lot of learning also here. That's sort of the side benefit. So it's okay.
In addition to all the great points mentioned, right, there are things which you cannot do. For example, a few years back, I was doing an onboarding for a customer. I was in Bangalore, the customer was in Mumbai. And they have booked a meeting room in which they had a projector and there are 20 people sitting in a room. My customer POC called me and said, hey Nimesh, all is well, but our projector is not working, can you do something about it? Now that is something you cannot do. For all the value-driven thing, I'm in full agreement with Khadim that eventually that value will cost the customer, right? You may not do it today, but start thinking about it today. On-ball cannot be given in all the plans you have. There will be things which are reserved for an exclusive set of customers, because at the end of the day, as customer success, you don't want to become a cost center. You want to become a profit center. And that's the direction in which we need to consider moving in. Thank you so much, Khadim, Niraj, and Puneet, and thanks to all of you for attending the session.